The train cuts through the early morning like a blade, gleaming in blue and gold. Lights stream through the windows in bursts, mixing cold and heat on the metal. The narrow corridor vibrates under the footsteps of those who couldn't sleep, but most breathe in silence. The loudspeaker's voice bursts forth. There's a passenger collapsed in carriage 5. Clara is already on her feet before the announcement ends. The first aid kit hits her knee. The zipper reflects the light. Time contracts. The carriage door opens. Cold air. People around a body fallen between seats. Trembling hands, short questions, cramped space. She kneels, touches his neck, checks for a pulse, looks at his face. And the world closes in on a single point. It's him. The man who destroyed the house, extinguished smiles, split her destiny in two. Clara's breath scrapes inside like iron. Memory tries to drag her hand away, but instinct holds firm. Please move them away. The blue light vibrates on the ceiling. The golden light of the corridor lands on the man's pale face. A wristwatch ticks away seconds she doesn't want to hear. The train moves on. The past pulls alongside, and in the heart of the night, between tracks and broken promises, Clara understands that nothing will stop her. She will subdue the enemy because saving others is what keeps her whole. Then she decides what to do with the truth. The glove slips. The stethoscope rests on his chest. A brief silence, an irregular breath answers. Oxygen. The mask arrives from the hand of someone whose whereabouts she doesn't know. Clara fixes her gaze on the man's head, adjusts the valve, observes his chest. 1, 2, 3 seconds. The train sways. A suitcase falls. A baby cries in the back. Stay behind the yellow line. There is no line on the floor, but she creates one with her voice. Low oxygen saturation, cold skin, sweat on her forehead. Hypoglycemia, heart attack, vagal shock. She thinks quickly, removes her watch, releases her wrist, checks her pupils, calls out the name she doesn't want to pronounce, which nevertheless escapes a passenger's lips. It's Mr. Vasconcelos. The word weighs heavily. The memory surges. An office, a signature, an unfair dismissal, an accusation that destroyed her father's reputation, the empty room, the echo of doors slamming. Clara tightens the mask's clasp. Hold on, she asks the researcher in the seat next to her for a medical history. No one knows. The man travels alone. Her breathing falters in short bursts. She picks up the monitor, pinches her finger. The display lights up. Bad numbers. I need space. The row of seats opens. The blue light blows over the leather. The gold comes from behind, warm, soft, almost an invitation. IV fluid, she says. The needle finds the vein with unwavering precision. The train passes through a tunnel. Darkness for a second, it reappears. She checks her pulse, minimal improvement. Mr. Vasconcelos, can you hear me? Squeeze my hand. Nothing. Clara's mind is divided between now and before. Her mother sitting at the table, bills piled up, her father silent. The name of that man stamped on a document that didn't end the truth but ended the peace. She calls the cabin chief. Does the next stop have a medical team? He says yes, but it's many kilometers away. The early morning is still long. The train is a corridor with no escape. She decides, monitor, stabilize, maintain consciousness, prevent a fall. Who has water with sugar? Juice? A woman offers a glass. Clara assesses, measures risks, refuses for now, checks vital signs again. The train sways more violently. She asks for a blanket. They cover the man's chest. The sweating decreases, but the internal cold remains. A young woman asks, is he going to die? Clara doesn't lie. Not while I'm here. Until. The phrase floats firm, without anger. It's a commitment before witnesses and ghosts. A tall man approaches carefully. Can I help? She delegates. monitor his blood pressure, notify him if there are any changes. The loudspeaker announces track inspection. The noise increases. The mask vibrates. Clara adjusts the angle of his head, releases his jaw, tests his airway. His heart obeys, albeit imperfectly. She observes the man's hands, a discreet ring, prominent veins, the signature that destroyed her home, hidden in a common detail. "Stay with me," she says, almost in a technical whisper. It's not a plea, it's an operation. Consciousness returns, as if submerged. His eyes open unfocused, then meet Clara's face. Just a second, enough to pull back centuries. He tries to remove the mask. She holds it, firm, professional. "Breathe, I'm here." It's impossible for him to recognize the past before breathing in the present. The train slows down for a long curve. Blue light travels across the ceiling like water. Gold outlines his face. "You..." He utters a word that becomes air. A cough interrupts any past. Clara checks his oxygen saturation. It rises slightly. "Great. Continue." The cabin chief returns. "We can divert to an emergency stop." She measures. If she stops too early, she loses the prepared team at the main station. If she continues, she gains time to stabilize and deliver him alive. We continue. A dry decision, without consulting the heart. The heart has another task, to pump. People fall silent. Someone says a quiet prayer. The baby falls asleep. The aisle clears, allowing the drinks cart to become an improvised workbench. Extra gloves, gauze, alcohol. Clara works as if setting up a small mobile hospital room. She asks about allergies, nothing. Current medications, nothing. Medical history. He tries to speak. Later. She cuts him off, but not harshly, with priority. Her professionalism is the safe distance between saving and hurting. The train enters a flat area. The swaying eases. His pulse responds better. Color returns slowly, starting with his lips. 5 more minutes like this, and you'll have the night. He nods with his eyes. He tries again. "I know you." She doesn't confirm. "Focus on breathing." He insists with a gesture. A word forms, "sorry." The word is like hot metal. It touches the skin of the past and marks it again. Clara doesn't let go of her mask or her seriousness. Not now. Forgiveness doesn't enter through the airways. He enters through a door that is still locked. The station approaches. The medical team is already waiting, informed by radio. The train slows down. The loudspeaker guides the passengers. Carriage 5 becomes a chapel, a waiting room, a silent court. The man who destroyed a house is a patient. Clara finishes setting up the access point, checks vital signs, mentally registers each step. When the doors open, 2 figures in vests enter with a stretcher and questions. Clara provides data, reports on the progress, indicates suspicions, recommends tests. All in the precise tone of someone who is focused and doesn't take the case personally, but doesn't abandon the person. They thank her. They're going to transfer him. The mask comes off. He breathes on his own. Before taking him away, he grabs her wrist. Weak strength, clear gaze. "I know who you are." Silence of a stop track. "I know what I did. I can't undo it, but there are documents in my coat. They aren't excuses. They're doors." Clara doesn't move. The doctor asks for speed. He blurts out, "I lied, and someone stole the truth from you using my name." The corridor turns 1 degree. The golden light is heavy. The blue light is chilling. In the inside pocket, his hand falls. The crew guides her along the platform. Clara remains in the carriage as if there were still something to breathe inside, besides herself. The cabin chief asks if she's all right. Yes. It's almost true. People compliment her. A lady holds her hands gratefully. A teenager asks if he can be a doctor someday. Clara smiles. The train doors close again. The loudspeaker announces minutes until departure. The flow returns to normal, but nothing goes back to what it was. She looks at the seat where he was, sees the coat hanging there. "You forgot it," the cabin chief confirms. "Leave it to me." Clara picks up the garment, feels the weight, finds the inside pocket. A thin envelope, no return address, no name, just an old date, the day everything collapsed. Her heart wants to tear it apart. Reason organizes the gesture. She puts the envelope in her suitcase, breathes, sits for a moment. The windows show the empty platform. The night breathes with her. The train departs again. The wheels sing softly. The outside world turns into shadows, rushing backward. Clara opens the envelope with a clean cut. Inside, 3 sheets of paper. A letter, 2 receipts. The letter is short. It describes the fraud, the bribery, the embezzlement that used the man's signature to cover up another name. Names, dates, locations, the missing proof. It doesn't exonerate the guilty party, but it puts each blame back in its place. The first receipt shows the transaction. The second, the dismissal order already drafted before the audit, a decision made to sacrifice someone and appease shareholders. It wasn't Clara's father who failed. It was a deal of convenience. The train maintains its pace. Her hands tremble without hindering her reading. The blue light from the ceiling becomes company. The gold of the sconces becomes shelter. A tear doesn't fall. It only warms her eye and returns. She returns to carriage 5, empty now. The corridor smells of disinfectant and cold metal. The seat where he sat still bears the outline. Clara imagines his face without a mask, the plea that couldn't be uttered. She speaks softly, alone, without dramatizing. "Thank you for not dying." It's a technical thank you to an organization that decided to cooperate, and a human gesture to someone who opened a door at the last minute. She doesn't offer forgiveness to ghosts. She offers it to what is alive. And what is alive now is possibility. The medical team must already be en route to the nearest hospital. She could get off at the next stop and follow. She chooses a longer, cleaner route. She scans the documents with her cell phone, sends them to a trusted lawyer, attaches a technical report of what happened, and archives copies in the cloud. The procedure is the same as always, method before emotion. The emotion will come when it's time. Minutes later, her cell phone vibrates. Received. "This changes everything." The lawyer. "We continue." The word disarms an internal muscle she didn't even remember being tense. The train enters an area of low fog. The lights become milky. Someone turns on a reading lamp. The sound of the tracks becomes a constant heartbeat. Clara leans her head back, closes her eyes for a moment without falling asleep. She sees her mother opening the window of the old house, letting the light in. She sees her father smiling as if returning keys. She sees that office disappear without a sound. When she opens her eyes, the world is still there, the same size but more breathable. Morning begins to dawn before the clock warns. The sky brightens beyond the window. The loudspeaker announces the next city. Clara gets up, adjusts her hair, puts away her suitcase. As she walks down the aisle, the lady praying hands her a small rosary, not as a religious symbol, but as a token. "For your hands." Clara accepts, smiles with universal kindness, and puts it in her pocket. The train slows down. The door opens. Cold, clean air. On the platform, no one is waiting for her, and that's good. She gets off to stretch her legs, gets back on, and on the step finds a note taped to the side of the door, as if the wind had worked all night to position it there. "Thank you for keeping me alive to fix what I broke." There is no signature. It doesn't need one. Forgiveness isn't written entirely in one night. It's written in stages. She returns the note to her coat pocket and hands it to the cabin chief. Addressee, medical team at the destination hospital. He understands. He nods. The train starts running again. Blue inside, golden outside. Clara sits by the window. Her hands finally stop trembling. The world moves forward in parallel lines. The past doesn't disappear from the map, but it changes color. Her inner voice finds its right form. It's not revenge, it's reparation. And reparation is long, patient, clean work. She takes a deep breath as she taught the patient. Air goes in, air goes out. Her heart keeps beating. The day arrives in silence. And in the middle of the slowly awakening countryside, a nurse holds her own story with the same firmness with which she held the life of an enemy. The train continues. The camera pulls back. End of night. Beginning of justice.